Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Chris Bratt.
Hello.
And Simon Miller.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh yeah, we're going for a cheeky threesome this week.
Oh, goodness gracious.
How I like it.
We're running on demand.
We are running on
Don't like
demand because there haven't been any games out for a little while, and
Everyone's off
two other
doing
chaps
things
are
as well.
off kind of playing games for reviewing.
Special next-gen games. Oh my gosh, how
goodness
exciting.
gracious
Next-gen games.
Next generation. Next generation.
It's here, man. We're 3 weeks away from
It's
it.
here.
3 weeks?
And
3 weeks? Yeah, I think it's 3 weeks.
I'm still not excited.
No, I'm not. Well, we said this last week. There's no games. And now there's less
Yeah.
games because Watch
there's less
Dogs
than there
and
was.
Drive Club ran away. So it's like, oh, and I wasn't even excited about them anyway. So
There's a part of me
Video games.
There's a part of me that
Nice.
really just wants to get, and I know this won't be popular.
Oh, God.
But
Oh,
there's
goodness.
a part of me. Well, no, actually, it'll probably be popular with you, Miller. I mean, the thing is, like, I kind of do want a PS4 more, but I kind of like the idea of playing Titanfall on a console.
yeah, no.
'Cause it looks like a cool console game.
yeah, Titanfall.
So-
No, I'm probably with you on that one. I think.
I mean, I could play Titanfall on PC. I am a big PC gamer, as fans of the podcast will know, but it's like I don't play FPS games on PC.
No, I know.
down.
I know the feeling you have. I mean, I've been siding with the PS4 pretty much since the announcement now, and I still am. But I don't know what I want to play on launch day.
I'll tell you what,
I haven't got. I don't know the PlayStation 4 games that I really want to play. I haven't seen them yet.
Knack.
Well, that's it. I'm actually kind of like, I saw some people talking about Knack the other day, and I'm like, what if Knack's really good?
It could be really good.
Like,
you
imagine
know.
that. Like,
It could be. Those cutesy games can sometimes be otherworldly. The only problem I have with the start of the next gen is there's only 2 original games now. I'm probably wrong, and people go, "Oh, you're wrong." But I mean, in terms of, we'll call it AAA in inverted commas,
Like
but
Rise
bollocks.
and Knack.
Rise and Knack. Rise and Knack.
Rise and
It's
Knack.
not exactly the greatest arrival to a next generation, is it?
you know what Rise and Knack sounds like? It sounds like
Sexual.
no. Jesus, son. What's wrong with you? Knack and Rise, maybe, but Rise and Knack. No, it sounds like a breakfast cereal.
It does
Rise and
actually.
Knack.
Rise and Knack.
Knack. Come on, kids.
There's every chance that Knack could be better than Rise.
I know. I actually.
Although I'm, as I said before, the only person to like Rise right here, baby.
No, I'd put my money on
here.
that. Actually, I'd already, just from what I've seen, put money on Knack being a better game than Rise.
I bet you Knack's
Yeah,
really
but that's-
fun. No, I bet you Knack is really fun.
The bit I played wasn't great.
You didn't like Knack.
Well, no, but
not
it's
really.
difficult within those settings. I find like whenever you just sit down and play a game at an expo or something.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's just it seemed very basic, much more basic than I was hoping for.
Yeah.
The whole mechanic of him growing as he destroys objects is really cool, I think, and I think they could have done something brilliant with it. It just seems very simplistic.
Yeah.
Because the most important part of Knack, whenever they talk about it, is particularly visually, it's like the actual character model and the way he grows looks amazing, and the abilities he uses when kind of all the objects he'll turn into like a tornado or something looks incredible. The rest of the game isn't that,
I'll
isn't
tell you
that
what,
far ahead.
that's the thing,
Yeah,
is
it could
like,
build.
It's his little character model.
Yeah, I mean that's sorry. The thing I always think of these things is it's often they take a bit of time to unwind. And my only real faith in it is I was thinking back and I was like, obviously my mind was sort of still stuck in that zone of being like, oh, it's a stupid triangle Toblerone bastard from when we did
Yeah, it does look like that,
the
does
PS4
look like
vid
that.
originally.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, I think, well, actually, with the PS2, we had like Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Sony has a really solid history.
Crash
of,
Bandicoot.
Oh, yeah.
That was
even
fun.
Abe's Odyssey and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Sony has a really solid history of having kind of games that look a bit like kind of cutesy kids games that are actually better and remembered more fondly
Yes,
than,
no, I agree. I totally
than later
agree.
games. Spyro as well, actually,
Yeah,
you know.
that's why I'm holding out somewhat of a flame for it. I mean, I think the difference is I wouldn't buy a console for it. That's the kind of game that you
Yeah.
kind of buy on launch day and it somehow worked into the package that you bought. Oh, I got Knack with it. Let's play Knack. And you play and go, oh, it's fantastic and it looks really shiny and lovely.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I love the fact, it kind of, in a way, I think it really sums up the platform holders' approach to games now. Because you got Knack, kind of cutesy, a bit different, and you got Rise, the most generic game of all time, coming from Microsoft.
Yeah,
But I
I
do
mean,
like Rise.
that's
I'm
the
not going to
thing.
pretend I don't. I played it and I gutted some people and I slashed my sword, hitting X a lot. Fine by me.
What's the thing? It seems like this sounds crazy, right? But it seems like Sony are taking Knack more seriously than Microsoft are taking Rise. Because when I was thinking
maybe,
about
yeah.
it with Mark Kearney, I read an interview with him, and he was talking about how like it's a mascot game, and they always make these mascot games at the start of a generation
Yeah.
with a cute character. Kids like it, but then also they make sure that it's still fun for hardcore gamers.
Like a Pixar movie.
I love those as well.
I
Don't get me
do.
wrong. I'm a huge fan of Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter.
They were boss.
I absolutely love playing those. I haven't seen in Knack yet that he's as interesting as those characters. Like, I remember Ratchet and Clank. I remember Jack and Daxter. Well, Daxter more so than Jack are interesting characters that I really liked. Knack I haven't seen his personality yet. And to be fair, that is, as you said, that's hard to get across in a short demo.
Yeah,
but Rise feels very much to me like they just went, we need to have a really fancy looking game.
Do you like Romans? Big Romans?
It just feels like they went, Crytek, can you make us a fancy
and make
exclusive,
it look amazing?
Make it look amazing. And I honestly, we've said this before, but I honestly think it's going to be like when the Xbox 360 came out and people bought games that were just like, you look at them for a minute and go, oh, look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we play Fight Night again?
Fight Night.
And just take it out and play Fight Night. Like.
Yeah, no, I do agree, but I will play Rise.
Yeah, no,
for better
of course
or worse.
you will. I mean, anything with big men in it.
You're right.
All over
they
it.
beat the crap out of each other. I mean, let's not pretend it's anything else other than that. But I don't think in 3 years we're going to be looking back at Rise and going, wow, wasn't Rise a fantastic arrival of the next generation?
But yeah, it's super close. I mean, and actually I wonder what the deal is going to be, because you know what? It feels different this time, the next gen, for lots of reasons. But it feels to me like I wonder if actually the next gen transition is going to be a bit hard for...
I think it's going to be one of the hardest, most definitely, because it's not, the PS2... Well, sorry, the PS1 to the PS2 and, the...
People want a DVD player.
Yeah, but also just the sheer shift... I mean, the N64 was the big one, wasn't it? Because, the big shift to 3D was something genuinely different that you'd never done before, and it worked. So it was like, oh my gosh, games have completely changed. And to the point that, a lot of publishers ran away from 2D. Like Capcom and stuff. Remember when Street Fighter went back to 2D? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, 2D.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Because it was like, I remember when I saw Mario 64 for the first time, it was like, whoa. I still had a Mega Drive at that point.
Exactly. And the change was mammoth.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like, but it was magic.
Yeah.
It was genuine magic.
Exactly. And now what do we have? We have the games that we've been playing the last 7 years. Admittedly, they look prettier, and I'm sure they'll sort of push the technology harder. But you can play them on the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
You won't get as good as an experience, but they are the same game. And
that's the thing.
Yeah.
We've got all this cloud stuff, but that's like, I honestly think the cloud's going to do some interesting stuff, but at the moment,
not
it's
for
like,
a while. Yeah.
I mean, that's in the hand of developers to make it interesting. Basically.
Yeah, especially with the launch titles, you wonder how much of that they'll have managed to delve into.
None. I mean, nothing. I mean, that's the thing, is when they announced it, it was a sort of thing where I was like listening to them talk about the tech, and it's like, this is really interesting technology that could change games completely.
But no game other than Forza.
No one's done it yet.
Forza seems to be the only one that will do it with its, what's it called? Drivatar.
I love that word.
It's a great idea. I won't use it.
I hated it when I first heard it, and I just...
To be perfectly honest, I can say this because Dave's not here. I know he's a big Motorhead, but
he likes Forza. Yeah.
The idea that when I'm driving, that one of the cars that I'm racing next to is modelled on the way my friend drives, as if I'm going to bloody notice that. It's just people driving cars. It's like, oh, that guy's good at turning corners. It must be my friend Stephen. I just think it's kind of like, I'm sure it's going to be legit science, but it's fucking boring.
I don't think it's particularly...
I just like hearing them talking about a driver in the clouds. It just sounds
driving in the clouds.
Yeah, I think it was Adam Sessler that did a video on this topic earlier last week, just talking about this kind of next generation feeling like less of a celebration. People aren't as excited about it.
It's going to take a while to get there, yeah.
There's something weirdly dutiful about it,
and also
isn't
they're not the publishers, the Microsoft and Sony themselves, it seems a little bit more uncertain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just feels very much like close your eyes and think of next gen. It's just sort of like, there's something a bit dutiful, like, tighten up your shirt. There's just nothing exciting about it at all.
I do appreciate that they have shifted the paradigm somewhat, because I was watching someone, or maybe not someone, playing maybe a game that's about pirates, or maybe not a game about pirates. And I happened to see it running on current gen technology, and it does it worse than it would have done, because I've seen it running on PS4 now, and you're just like, good grief. Like,
well, yeah.
But the changes are subtle. The changes aren't, like I say, these big leaps. You don't actually, subconsciously, you're actually picking up all these things. So when you go back, it is that weird thing where you start to notice frame rate more and stuff. And you're like, I didn't know this game ran without a frame rate, but it does, because now you've seen how much smoother and, how better games are going to become.
And that is obviously, we're as cynical
things.
as we're being. We will all notice that and all enjoy it immensely. It's just, I get excited about games.
Come first. Exactly.
Graphics are great, and big steps forward are always going to be appreciated. But I just need a game to latch onto. I need this to be my next gen game. That's it.
And it's this thing of like, I mean, yeah, they are getting noticeably worse. And we were talking about this with Battlefield. Like, it's the thing is the 360 always managed to punch above its weight for a long time.
Yeah, it did.
It was always the target platform.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now it's not. Suddenly, it's like games coming out now look way worse than games that were coming out like a year and a half ago.
Because
maybe.
Because they've just sort of stopped optimizing them for it.
Yeah,
because
they're building on PC, then next gen, then
yeah.
current gen.
And then they just go, well, we can just turn the settings down for the 360 version.
Yeah.
They've already stopped caring about it.
that must be quite nice from the developer's point of view in some respects. It's just like, that console, man.
Yeah.
We've done with it now.
But what I wonder, I kind of get the impression now, right, because it is really, as we just highlighted, it's a tech upgrade, right? It's basically
at the moment, definitely, yeah.
It's you going like, I want to play the same games, but I want them to look nicer and run more smoothly.
Yeah.
But that's really weird because you know what? Like when you get into that zone where like you play a game and you're actually going to willing to spend £300-400 purely for that, that's kind of the mentality that not a lot of people have. That's my mentality. That's the mentality often of PC gamers.
Yeah, no,
so we'll go out and say, my PC's a bit outdated. I'm going to spend £200 on a graphics card and make it look awesome again.
Yeah.
Or like, it's actually also dad mentality. Remember when the Xbox got announced, we referred to it as like the dad box.
Yeah.
I think it's still on that because it's the sort of people who went out and bought Blu-ray.
Yeah, and HDTV's really early. And
I
stuff,
just wonder because the problem is like the whole reason the Wii U got shafted was just because they needed support or right to use the cool features.
Yeah, nobody gave it to
And
them.
I just wonder how many people are going to go and buy these straight away.
I can't imagine my dad just standing in front of the Xbox One with his arms crossed and one of his friends standing next to him and he's running through all the specs.
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly.
spent a bit of money on
to
this
it.
kit and it's top of the range, really good stuff. And then his friend says, oh, cool, what games do you want to play? So what? Oh, yeah.
No, that won't work with
like,
they'll play FIFA and they'll love it.
That's the thing. It seems like it's a bit of a step backwards in terms of the kind of market impact that games were having, though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's just not that big a leap.
It's back to dads and teens again of being like excited.
Yeah, hardcore guys that will adopt it early. But I mean, even the guy from Ubisoft said to us, we won't see proper games till Christmas next year, like 2014.
Yeah.
So if he thinks that, he's probably not. Probably knows the industry quite well, I imagine. So I think we've got a long. Maybe it starts with Titanfall. I don't know, but even that's coming out.
Tell you what,
Xbox
though, my big
360.
question is because now they announced the other week, which really excites me, that the PS4 pad actually now will be day one straight out of the box. You'll be able to hook it up to your PC.
Yeah.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
They've never done that before, have they?
They've never done that
I
before.
mean,
That's
the
good.
DualShock 3 works now, but it took a while until that came out.
And you know what? Like, I don't know. After all my years of slagging off the PS3 controller,
It is garbage. I tried to play FIFA on the other day. Waste of time.
the PS4
dead
controller
zone.
is really nice, though.
Yeah, Burns was saying as well.
And I've actually held both now. I was playing around with the PS4 and the Xbox One controller. And a lot of people love the Xbox One
I do
controller.
love the Xbox One
But
controller.
I don't know. I actually kind of think I prefer...
I haven't used the PS4 controller yet,
It's
so I
got a
can't say.
lovely weight. It's got
Yeah.
a really nice weight, a really nice feel.
I think both of them
both
are
great.
really, really good. It's for me, it's still that kind of. I still need to get used to having the joysticks on a horizontal plane. It's still a kind of a weird step after spending so much time with the 360 pad.
I know.
But they are both. It's
a lovely
The
pad.
difference isn't there as it has been this generation.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because I know I'm going to buy one of them day one. It's funny. Shows how much the time has passed now. Years ago, I would have been like, I would definitely be getting one of these consoles day one.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I'm definitely getting one of the controllers day one.
Yeah, well, no, dude.
And I don't know which one.
You horrible man.
Well, no, because they're awesome controllers.
They are really good. I mean, the amount of millions of dollars they pour into R&D on those
Yeah.
things is insane. So you're always going to get
And they're both
a pretty
like
good product.
50 quid, right? But, I mean, like, it's going to be worth it. Just to be
Oh,
able to
it's
just...
better than any other controller you can
Because at the
buy, I
moment, you
imagine.
can only use, without buying all this bollocks stuff for the PC,
Yeah.
you have to use a wired Xbox pad
Yeah.
for the PC. And if they get the wireless support for like the PS4 pad or something, I'll
That'd
just
be
be able to
awesome.
sit back on my bed and play PC games. Wow.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. There you go. Controllers, next gen
Controllers.
confirmed.
I honestly think controllers are the most exciting thing at the moment.
Nothing wrong with that.
Which is insane.
Nothing wrong with that.
Because I thought I was mad at E3 when we were going through, and the only thing at E3 I really wanted to try was the force feedback paddles on the.
On the
I
360.
do like them.
I didn't want to see any of the games. I was just like, can I have a go on that controller?
It's so good in Forza. When you're skidding around, it's fighting you. Oh, I love it. It's probably pointless, but yeah, I really enjoy it.
See, I haven't tried it. I've held them, but I've not tried it in action.
Yeah,
yet,
it's really
so.
good.
I can't remember if I've told this before, but did I say that when I played Battlefield on the Xbox One, that everyone that was playing was all hooked up on the mics? So like everyone in your party was in the same kind of chat with each other, which is a great idea and a really weird idea when you're at an event and you don't know any of the people. And at first, people were like, "Oh yeah, the controllers feel cool," and did you feel that vibration? And then suddenly we noticed that there was a little box at the top saying, Connect can't detect where you are, stand backwards. And then for the rest of the game, first time a lot of people played Battlefield 4, all we talked about was the fact that it was weird that Connect was trying to view us, and people just started slagging off the Xbox One.
There you go.
I always find it really weird when they do that. They
Group
do that
mentality.
at review events as well. Like they have like the multiplayer and they set it up with
no one talks.
No one talks.
No one talks to each other.
Because they've got these full like state of the art, usually like really high end headsets with microphones, and everyone just sits there in silence because either like you don't
want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy.
Hit the flags.
Who starts giving people orders. And also, like, you know, you might know some of the people, you don't know all of them. You just often, like, you're trying to think about the game, and so you don't want to talk to people. But it's weird because I remember being at a preview event for Mass Effect 3 before it came out, and they had the multiplayer, and it was really frustrating because I knew I had like a massive feature to write for the mag. It was like 20 pages or something. So I really needed to, like, play this.
Down.
I need to play this multiplayer, like, and get it. I need to really get a feel for whether or not it was good, what it was like. And the group I was in playing it with were all the guys from Famitsu.
Oh, dear.
So it was literally me and 3 Japanese guys who didn't speak any English. And I mean, they weren't saying anything anyway to each other. They were just sitting in silence. But it was impossible because the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, at the time, I'm sad to say, I think I couldn't even really tell if it was good or not. I didn't
like it, but I didn't think it was bad.
I thought it was good.
Yeah,
when it came out,
it didn't suit me.
In the review, I loved it. I was like, when I actually got to play it, I'm like, this is wicked fun.
Yeah.
But at the preview, it was this thing of being like, I knew we did actually have to communicate and actually have to work together.
You have 3 Japanese guys.
But it was impossible. But what I did like was the fact the only thing that tied us together was the universal language of colour, and the fact that the first thing all of us had done was changed
pink?
our bright pink shepherd armour.
Beautiful.
Bright pink armour all the way.
Yeah,
Love it.
That was the best part when they eventually introduced Krogans, which are the big chaps, and you could have them in bright pink armour.
Pink Krogans.
That was the best part.
Genophage.
It's just universally cool.
Yeah.
It's great. Anyway, we'll jump on some games.
That came from nowhere, that did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's therapeutic.
Well,
Feel good right now.
You know, it's one of these podcasts like we had on a couple of episodes actually where we just pretty much didn't talk about games for the whole thing.
Yeah, the industry became a game.
One. But yeah, it's another quiet week, so we thought we'd just have a bit of a ramble first.
There is one game coming out this week, but we will talk about that next week, potentially.
I mean, you can update us on the news story because I think that's valid.
It hasn't gone up yet, but basically Batman Arkham Origins is out this week, as you all know. Comes out 2 days' time. It's Wednesday as we record this. If you listen to it late and you want to know exactly where we are, what we're doing, comes out on Friday. And as of yet, we have not received review code.
Yeah.
We're told we're not going to be receiving it till Friday, which is the day of release.
Yeah.
Now, that's all we're going to say for now because we have asked Warner for a reason why, and they have decided at this point not to comment.
Yeah.
So that's all we'll say to
You
keep you
liked
updated.
it when you went to the preview event, didn't you?
Well, no,
it was.
I've played that game 4 times now. I played it once in multiplayer and 3 times in single player. And each time I think that Warner Brothers Montreal, I come away thinking, Warner Brothers Montreal, you've done a very solid job with somebody else's technology. Now, that's not to say it's going to be as special as Arkham City, but I think if you just want some more Batman action and you can sort of farm that stuff out and you've got a solid enough team who can make it work, then fair enough. I mean, you know, it's obviously there to make money, to make profit, and to tie into a franchise that is now universally loved.
Yeah. But obviously, when you're not being sent review code until day of release,
who knows?
I mean, we're not saying anything here, but generally speaking, there tends to be a trend that when you're not, and we're not the only ones, a lot of people seem to have not been sent it.
Yes.
When you're not being sent review code until day of release, it usually means quite bad things. So I just say be careful, like with this. If you were thinking about buying it, I definitely hold off to see what the reviews say.
And I would also say that some people in the US, in terms of retailers, have broken the street date. So there are blogs out there of people reviewing it now. So I would just type in Batman Arkham Origins review and check it, and you can read them. And all I will say is, and this is me, Simon Miller, the individual.
You're a massive,
I'm massive. I love this series. I love this series. I gave Arkham City a 10. I'll stand by that till the day I die. But all I will say is, read these reviews. And I've read 4 of them of blogs I've never heard of. I think one's called Video Game Dracula. So it's not like a big deal.
Sure.
It has got a score potentially that may disappoint you. Yeah. That's all I'll say. But we don't know. Until we play it ourselves, how can we possibly say?
Absolutely. Yeah, just be vigilant.
Exactly. With the vigilante.
Like
be vigilant.
Games are expensive. You can't be messing around with these things. You know?
Exactly.
But yeah, in terms of the games we have been playing, obviously, actually, I should mention actually on something else that's out this week, which came out last night. I think Eldritch came out.
Oh, yes, the wonderful Eldritch.
Yeah.
They even won me over that game.
So that's a great
Is it
game.
out proper now?
It's out proper
man, I'll
on
get
Steam.
that.
I think it's £8 this week because it's like 20% off, so it's usually £10.
Yeah.
Did you play it in early access? Was it or
I did. I'm interested to see like how they tweak things up. I think they've added a kind of harder New Game Plus mode because actually it's not supposed to be that hard. Apparently, they wanted it to be kind of like a roguelike game that's not.
I love when people make a game that's got roguelike aspects and they're not sure what to call it. I think we were playing Nuclear Throne and their term was roguelike.
Yeah. It's a hard game, Nuclear
What
Throne.
was
I still roguelite is the best
roguelite
one.
was Rogue Legacy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I mean, I think they've done a good job. I mean, actually, I got the impression that within a couple of days, I got like maybe 2/3 of the way through it. But obviously, when you die, you have to restart.
Yeah.
It seems like not the longest game in the world. It's not the toughest game. If you're a hardcore roguelike fan, you might not like it. But if you it seems like the sort of game that if you enjoy creepy atmospheric
That's
games,
the thing, the atmosphere is so good.
it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a video up on the website. If you go onto the website and type in Eldritch, it's ELDRITCH.
Yes.
I can do spells.
Good job.
Then check out the video because that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, honestly, it's genuinely very impressive. I think it'll win. If you give it the time, I think it'll win you over more than you may think.
I hope
it
it's going to do really well because I
Yeah.
think it's a really interesting game. I think a lot of people look at screenshots and just glimpses of it and go, oh, it's just another Minecraft clone. But it's
Yeah.
definitely something a bit more interesting than that.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
really well made.
It's really
well
good,
made.
yeah. And what have you been playing this week, Chris?
So the most interesting game I've played since the last podcast, and one of the most interesting games I've played this year, I think.
Oh my god!
If you can even call it a game, which I guess could be a discussion, is the Stanley Parable.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's a game. Oh, can I do it? Would you call it a game? Would you call the Stanley Parable a game?
No. I mean, I've been playing it. I mean, there is the thing is, I've been playing it a little bit. I played it for about an hour the other day, and it is a game in the fact that you have.
Decisions
There's a
and-
decision. There's a choice.
There's an end.
But the thing
lots
is,
of
there's only
endings.
really one choice, and the game all comes down to that one choice.
Right.
And it's quite simple. It's a game with a narrator,
Yeah.
and the narrator tells you what the character's doing. But the narrator tells you what the character's doing before the character does it. So it says Stanley walked through the door to his left.
Yeah.
and then you follow his instructions.
And the whole game
Right.
boils
you don't
down
have
to.
to. You can. There'll be two doors. There'll be
Yeah.
a left and a right, and you can go. He'll say, and Stanley walked to his left.
And the whole game really revolves around this initial decision. In the fact that basically he says Stanley walked through. There were two doors in front of him. And Stanley walked through the door to his left.
Yeah.
And we won't talk about the game much more than this because
Most of the stuff I've read said don't.
it
read
delves
too
into
much,
spoilers.
yeah.
But what's lovely is it really just boils down to this idea that the narrator is telling you what you're doing, and you can either choose to just completely obey and see what happens if you go through the story exactly doing what he tells you. And the outcome of that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Or there are plenty of stages where you can choose to rebel. You can choose to do the opposite or do something different. And it's the reason it's so clever is because there are so many ways that you can basically try and trick the game.
Yeah.
And the thing that's amazing about it is that the narrator, it's so dark. If you do as you're told, it's kind of all right. But
Yeah.
as soon as you start misbehaving, he starts kind of poking fun at you as a player as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It breaks the fourth wall. It gets very weird.
Oh god, the fourth wall is well and truly smashed. I think that's the kind of first layer of it as well. It gets really. There are a few moments I really look back at fondly with the Stanley Parable, which I don't want to go into specifics because you need to experience this yourself. But that
Yeah.
is the first layer. There'll be a decision, and he'll say, and Stanley walks this way, and you can go the other. But there are also moments where you kind of think, right, you know what, I'm going to break this game. Sod it. You're not as clever as you think, and you'll do something that you think no one else has tried before, and then there's about 5 minutes of narration about that exact thing that you've just done,
Yeah.
where it takes the piss out of you.
he like dissects it. It's almost like
Sounds incredible.
It
is.
Sounds like my perfect game.
it
if
is
I'm honest.
actually incredible. I'll tell you what. It's almost like a really intelligent dissection of the first person genre and games and gamers and how we
Yeah.
play and why we play and our expectations
it's-
and narrative setups. It's incredibly clever.
I think that last point actually, it has so much to do with what you expect of the game when you start, and it really relishes in kind of poking fun when it goes against your expectations. And it's.
And what I was surprised by, actually, because I was expecting it to be funny. I'd seen the trailers. I know the guy who makes the game has clearly got an amazing sense of humour.
Yeah.
I knew it'd be funny. So I was expecting something like that would just be daft and make me laugh. And at times it has made me laugh or make me smile. But what I love is how quickly my smile will turn into genuine, like, uncomfortable. It's actually quite distressing at times.
Yeah.
It's very, like, dark and it's amazing. There are a couple of moments in it which I found like quite disturbing almost, and not in a traditional way. There's nothing gory or unpleasant about it. Just the way the narrator starts to talk to you, and the setups and it's just, honestly, like, this is a weird term that gets banded about a lot with games that are usually very pretty and flowery and have deep thoughts. But I actually think this is one of the closest examples in my mind, from my description of it, as actually games being art.
Yeah, and I'd agree. I think it's interactive art, and it's entirely dependent on you being familiar with games and games of a similar nature to the Stanley Parable, at least at first, the kind of walking around exploration, and the way you feel as it kind of reacts to your expectations. That feeling is something you'd get from looking at art, I think. From looking at a painting and kind of reflecting on what it's saying to you.
A lot of really kind of major art pieces that are really successful, like, always riff off, like, you know, like a lot of really standout pieces were, now you look at them as classic, but at the time it was the fact that they were actually kind of making a point about the norms, or you had to have a knowledge of the art of the era to really appreciate why it was so clever. And obviously, like, that often gets lost really easily in history. When we just look at paintings and stuff, we just go, "Oh, that's a nice painting." When actually, if you'd read up on it, it's like, well, actually, at the time, it's stuff like Picasso. We look at that and just go, "Oh yeah, crazy paintings," and everyone's like, "No." At the time, like, nobody had done this, like, ever, really. Yeah. And this guy used to paint photorealistic paintings, and he was one of the best painters of his generation. He just decided to start.
And he made a lobster photo.
Mental things.
I actually think, in a lot of ways, that the games have struggled with this for so long, but the idea of, like, we want other people to take us seriously. We want people who like films to take games seriously.
Precisely.
There's no other media. Probably the closest you could come to is kind of like a choose your own adventure book that takes the piss out of you.
Love choose your own adventure books.
But no other media could do the Stanley Parable justice, I don't think, because it has to be you playing it. And it has to be your feelings towards the decisions you're making.
They're always the best, aren't they?
Well,
games
like
where you play them and you think you couldn't do this anywhere
else. It's like
else.
if you've played Bioshock. Like, you know, that big, the twist. I mean, I'm not going to say any more on that, but it's kind of like that, but
it sounds like that.
Sustained, and smarter in a way. And it's mental how well crafted it is. And you're right, it's the fact that games do aspire to be like, and that's why I quite like Gone Home. I think Gone Home was actually a bit overpriced, really, but it was a great experience. I think it's actually 50% off this week.
Literally about to say they've slashed 50% this week.
I think for that price, it's worth having a go.
Yeah.
And that's a game, again, I won't say anything about it, but it does use video game expectations to its advantage, and it does something quite interesting that I really appreciate. Very short game, but again, that's something that only works because it's a video game.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best games.
But this is like much more direct with that. Gone Home is quite subtle. It uses horror game tropes and stuff to kind of make you feel uneasy.
The Stanley Parable's like, you there, you playing.
Yeah, you player.
Check this.
I mean, it's incredible. It reminds me of a thing I did called You Me Bum Bum Train, in which
You Me Bum Bum Train.
It was a theatre thing I kind of went through and then I ended up being a part of, where the idea was that every person was a passenger, right? So instead of having a theatre thing where you have an audience of 100 people watching 3 people on stage, it's like you've reversed that, right? So you have one person going through at a time, and you have about 150 people in the cast. And it means that what happens is every room you go into is a completely new scenario.
Right.
And you are the only person in it who isn't an actor. And you are also the centre of it.
Good grief.
It's the most amazing thing I've ever done.
Terrifying.
That sounds intimidating.
Well, no, it sounds intimidating, but what's interesting about it is it isn't, because I loved it, but my girlfriend, who's really she's the opposite of me in many regards. She's like
a girl.
Introvert. She's a woman.
She's a woman.
So many things that are just, I don't know how we get on, really. But no, she was like a bit frightened about it, because this idea of being the centre of attention. But because it's a weird fantasy, you kind of it stops feeling real really quickly.
Yeah, I guess
and you just start to fall into it. But again, that's one thing that's based on expectations, because the scenarios, when I first did it, there was one where I went into an ultrascan machine because I was in a doctor's room and they asked me for my name and stuff. And then I lay down on an ultrascan machine and I went into the ultrascan machine. And it was very creepy and very weird. I was literally lying on a table being rolled backwards into it. And then I got to the back of the ultrasound machine and I kept going. And then I was in a sushi restaurant on a sushi conveyor belt with people looking at me as if I was a piece of food. And then I kept going through the sushi restaurant and I was on a conveyor belt in an airport. And I was basically like people looking for their luggage and looking at their watches.
This is madness.
And then I went through another room and I came out underneath the chassis of a car, to which I heard 2 mechanics. I could see their feet and I could see a lady there talking to them. And the 2 mechanics saying, "I don't know what's wrong with it, love, but I think Matt's just having a look at it." see what he thinks. And then I come
man.
out from underneath the bottom of the car, somebody grabs my hand, pulls me up, hands me a mug of tea and says, "So Matt, what's the problem?" And by this point, this was right at the start of it, and by this point, already through that, I was like, I knew what the setup was.
You're a mechanic now.
So I just turned to her and said, "Sorry, love, I can't touch it. It's got asbestos in it. You know, it's going to cost a fortune." And then the other mechanic. But it's the idea of whatever you do in these scenarios, there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, they just play off you.
And everyone plays off you. And the one they did last year, which I was involved with, had one where you went in and you were a TV host for a TV show.
Right.
So you literally walk through this door and there's a full audience, about 100 people, a camera crew, a live band plays a little jingle and somebody says, "Welcome to the Matt Show." And then you actually go and sit on a sofa and interview like somebody who's pretending to be a celebrity. And every time you make a joke...
Simon's freaking out.
Every time you make a joke and look at the audience, they all laugh. But they actually even got proper celebrities. When my girlfriend did it, she was interviewing... what's he called? Dominic from The Wire, the guy who played McNulty from The Wire.
Really?
Dominic West. Yeah, they actually got proper celebrities to do it to make it feel real. And I was in the army scene. Sorry, on this quickly, but I was in the army scene for that. I did it every night for like months. I became so buff because basically the army scene was there was like 14 blokes all in army gear, and you were standing around this barracks. And then as soon as the passenger, as they're called, walked into the room, we all had to run next to our bunk beds and stand to attention. And then basically they were the person in charge. And most of the time, people just walked in and they immediately worked that out. And so they just started strutting around giving us orders or inspecting us. But it's amazing because people reacted differently. Some people would just come in and inspect us. Some people would come and say, "Oh, you're doing a great job. I just want you to say, you're doing a fantastic job." And we go, "Thank you, sir." Or "Thank you, ma'am." We got so like attuned to doing it all perfectly in time to make it feel real. But sometimes you just get people in and say, "Drop and give me 100." And they just do it. And the only rule was, whatever they told us to do, we had to do it. Within reason.
Within reason.
But no, actually, we did actually have one girl who just literally walked in. She must have been a girl about, our age, sort of 25 or whatever. She just walked in, saw a room of 14 men, realised that they were completely at her control, and she just said, "Take all of your clothes off." And we did.
There you are.
But yeah, basically, long story short,
Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable is like the opposite of that, where instead of having this scenario where you have absolute control and you are the most important person there, and you can do whatever you want and the world will adapt to suit you, the Stanley Parable is the opposite, where you are a useless, impotent agent trying to fight against invisible forces that will always win. But because of that, you become increasingly devious in trying to work out how you can beat the system.
But it's always got an answer.
And I don't think you can.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'll play this game.
Yeah.
The final point I want to make about it before we move on is that last night the two developers were doing an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. And just this kind of sums up their approach to the development with this game. Someone asked about Oculus Rift Support, which is very popular in those kind of walk around, this interactive space kind of games. Very, very popular. And they said, "Yeah, we'd love to do that, but we want it so you're sitting down at Stanley's desk playing the Stanley Parable on his computer. So you'd be looking for the Oculus Rift, sitting down in Stanley's room, and in front of you is the actual game on the PC." I was like, that's exactly why this game works, because that's how you take something like the Oculus Rift and that's what you want to do with it. And how that would freak me out, I think, just playing that, because you'd be so invested in that kind of feeling of being Stanley in his
I think it's
world.
genius. It's selling very well.
Bravo.
It's selling very well.
Yeah, it sold like 100,000 3 days or something.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I honestly think it's genius, and there aren't many things that it's so clever. I find it really inspiring. It's just like
there we go. Stanley Parable.
Stanley Parable, yeah. Apart from that, there haven't really been anything
we
else.
are going to talk about How to Survive, but we can't talk about How to Survive to the Stanley Parable.
Yeah,
How to Survive is a top-down, boring zombie game. Next. I mean, literally, that is it. And it doesn't even play very well. It plays all right, it's fine.
We played a bit of co-op last night, and it was just... in the Stanley Parable, which we were just even talking about, is such an inventive game, and that just felt the opposite.
It just ticks the boxes.
It's
so after
got-
an hour, you just bored out of your mind.
It's a survival game, so it's got a pretty decent crafting system, and I think that's probably one of the strengths of the game. But everything,
Life is
its
too
approach to
short
everything-
for average games.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
How
it's
to
just
Survive
it's just
is-
another zombie game. And there's better ones out there. Go play them instead.
Yeah,
There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
I still want to play State of Decay.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is kind. I mean, it's not like State of Decay, but it kind of follows the same ideas. And
You're in some trouble there, don't
Yeah.
you? Let's just have Brat's Minute.
Oh,
Where he fixes his microphone.
Excuse me.
Welcome to Brat's
No,
Minute,
there we
where
go.
he
Oh,
readjusts his microphone so he can...
Yeah, it's on.
That was
It's
not
definitely on.
fair to anybody.
Unnecessary.
Sorry.
Going to make you play How to Survive all day now.
That's the last Brat's Minute you get.
I didn't get a full minute.
We were going to have Brat to the Future as a regular...
Yeah.
No, you're out. You're
That's
out.
done.
Right, okay.
It's over.
Done now.
Dead.
But yeah,
So yeah, How to Survive is just, it's fine, and I'm sure some people will get an enjoyment out of it because people love zombies. But it's just you feel after playing for 5 minutes, you feel like you've already played it.
That kind of mentality,
before.
though. But I like games with zombies, and it's like if your ability to enjoy things is purely based, without irony, on the content, the thematic content,
but Batman.
then look, I mean, yeah. I suppose I'm talking to the wrong person here, aren't I? Don't get me wrong, it's like I love shit sci-fi films.
Yeah.
But I will say, in my defence, I'll say, tonight I'm going to watch a shit sci-fi film.
Yeah,
And I'll
exactly.
watch it and I'll enjoy it. And then people say, is it good? And I'll go, it's fucking shit.
It's not always true because Batman and Robin's the worst film ever made.
Yes.
The worst film ever made.
I'm glad you were able to appreciate that.
It doesn't always work. So yeah.
I mean, other updates quickly this week. I've been playing more Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not very far. I've just got so distracted by feeding my Pokemon's cakes.
Yeah. Well, we
yes.
see how that works out. It works out well. So.
I'm really good. I've spent a lot of time on the weekend because it's got this weird cycle where you feed them cakes to make them like you more, and if they like you more, you get a slight XP boost in battle.
As you would,
and,
yeah.
And actually, this is an interesting one, right? Because I read all these
we're
reviews
getting back into
and stuff.
Pokemon stats.
No, not the stats. And all the reviews I read and all the little guides that came out on launch, everyone said, "Oh, the Pokemon and me thing, pointless." They just basically went, it's pointless. Like, it's just what you do. Basically, it was saying you can get a couple of special Pokemon by making them like you more.
Yeah.
Like, they evolve because they love you, which is like incredibly lame. But they kind of just wrote it off as being, it's just a girly thing, whatever, doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference, right? Because I found out that my main Pokemon, I've given him like shitloads of cake.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't seen the video I made of me and Chris with our guide to Pokemon and
I'm
me,
glad there was a
That's
point
good.
to that.
I'd
Glad
recommend
this-
you watch that. It is basically a video of me force feeding Chris cakes.
The video we all wanted to
that's
see.
that's the only.
You should really watch that. But it's great because if they love you loads, your Pokemon, then occasionally
loads.
they just dodge attacks and stuff because, like, for no reason, a little heart.
That's what
pops
love
out of them.
does.
And it's like
What?
they just dodged it because
Doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Because they love you loads, they try and take less damage.
It's mental, right? It says something like, it comes up saying, they dodged the attack because
The power of
Matt
love.
saw it coming and they were so attuned with Matt. So it's like, what? Like, he's the one in the fight and I saw an attack for him coming
And
You're in
before
tune.
he did.
And you've got a mental link
and
because you fed
You've
them
got
cakes.
like cake love.
But it's got this stupid little mini game, right? Which is like basically it's a puzzle game. We have to move the tiles, swap the tiles around to make the puzzle picture. And it's the in my mind, it's the most efficient way of quickly accruing large quantities of these cakes.
Right.
Oh god, you've optimized.
I have optimized it. But
Pokemon
this is the
and me.
thing, it's mental, right? Everyone else I know is there on Twitter, like picking like that they've beaten the Elite Four, and it's like, congratulations, you're the Pokemon Master.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. I've got like 2 badges.
You're feeding
2 gym
cakes.
badges.
Yeah.
I'm so into the cake meta game. But it's really hard because I was just playing it on the weekend. I was so fucking hungover trying to play this really puzzly game.
Yeah.
And just lying in bed with my girlfriend. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like,
Feeding my
shut
Pokemon
up,
just
my
like-
brain hurts. Trying to do pokey cake puzzles.
That's good though. It's the power of Nintendo.
Is it good?
Have you
not-
started thinking
No,
about
I've
getting
got
it?
it now.
You've got
I've
it.
downloaded it. So
You've got to give it a go.
I'm going
man.
to play it. I'm going to play it. I needed a 3DS charger. That's turned up yesterday, so I can charge my DS again.
So
And
I
I'll
think-
play it. I'm going to play Pokemon. First time ever.
I want to see your because you don't really know anything about it, right?
Nothing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What I want you to do. Could you play it for like 2 hours without looking up anything or asking anything, and then just write something about that experience?
Yes, I can do that.
Because that'd be amazing.
All right.
It'd be like an eloquent adult talking about being a child.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to play it. I've already said this.
awesome.
A good big Pokemon friend of mine, I said to him, I don't play it, and he was over the moon. So this is happening. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. And
So, yeah.
apart from that, big update to Dota 2 this week.
Yeah, no.
So you're
no.
pretty angry about some bongos.
Kind of faux angry, yeah.
Yeah.
They've made some major changes. I'll keep this light because I know Dota's just so niche, but it's not.
It's
the thing is,
massive.
It's
I-
weird. It's
huge.
massive, but niche.
I
It's
always
very
think of it as
strange.
being niche because I'm like, I better not talk about Dota too much. But it's like it does have 6.5 million monthly players,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
strange.
way more than most games.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's only beaten by LOL, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, I don't even know where the wild
Minecraft
figures are
and stuff,
anymore.
I suppose.
Warcraft's up at like 10 million.
I think it's lower than that
Still.
now, isn't it?
Is it?
I think,
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
But still,
Probably
yeah,
about 9, yeah. But no, basically it's they've changed all these things. But yeah, I made a stupid video because they've changed the noise it makes when a game's ready. And me and my friends really don't like the new one. We were like, what have they done with the old noise?
The old one is better. The old one's far more
Goes
epic and
bam,
exciting.
bam,
Yeah.
bam, and now it goes like bum, 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 bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum. It's just rubbish.
It's like Age of Empires now.
But yeah,
It's
I made
better.
a stupid campaign video called "Bring Back the Bong." Bring back the bong.
How's that
How these
going?
things count?
It's going all right. Lots of people seem to really kind of like resonate with this
Yeah,
message.
yeah.
Anyone from Valve got in touch yet?
No one yet, but hopefully they'll.
It's early days.
Is that,
Yeah, they might do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they at least make it an option.
Yeah.
well, I
'cause
guess it's probably worth talking about whilst we're on the topic of Dota, and you about to, it's by the sounds of it, about to jump ship over the the lack of bongs. But
I'm done with that
Blizzard
shit.
have kind of re-revealed their MOBA game this week.
Oh yeah, Blizzard All
which is Heroes of the Storm.
I actually thought it's called Blizzard All Stars for a second there.
They used to be called. That was the
Blizzard All Stars.
Oh, Blizzard
not
All Stars.
All right, I was
Yeah.
going to say.
Just put a Y in.
Yeah, that's very good, though. It's
always,
pretty good.
always a bit of Y in.
Put a bit of Y in for lads.
Yeah, so Blizzard are now they're going after everything, aren't they? They're releasing a
what's it
very
called?
addictive card game. They've got WoW, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
StarCraft 2 is like such a community around that game and the kind of esport.
I'm a bit worried about
part of it.
Blizzard, really.
And now they're going into the MOBA market. They're going to take over the
I'm
world.
a bit worried about. Well, I don't think they are.
They're
Well,
kicking ass.
well, listen, right? Really recently, Vivendi, because Vivendi owned Activision Blizzard, right?
Not anymore. That's
Not
done.
anymore. They
Yeah.
bought themselves back.
Yeah.
But I have little birds have told me for a while that there was an interesting situation with Blizzard and Activision in the fact that because they were both these companies that were a joint company but owned by the parent company Vivendi, that they were trying to justify that they were more important and more valuable than the other because they were
Sounds
worried.
healthy.
They were worried that Vivendi were going to kind of basically downscale
or
and make
meddle.
one in control of the other.
Yeah.
So for a while, it looked like the obvious option would be Blizzard, right? But then WoW started to slip. StarCraft 2, allegedly, I've heard from people, didn't really make as much money as they
Really?
wanted to.
Is that-
What were their projections?
Well,
My
I mean, they
gosh.
spent a lot of money on
Well,
it. I mean, it's
yeah.
a very nice game.
True.
Heart of the Swarm, which is another HOTS abbreviation, isn't it? So the Heroes of the Storm, Heart of
Well,
the Swarm.
that's- yeah.
Heart of the Swarm just doesn't seem to have the same buzz about it that many were expecting. I mean, we're not. We play a bit of StarCraft, but
Well, this is
obviously
the
that
thing.
community is very-
StarCraft, it felt like StarCraft was a really big thing in
Yeah.
Korea. It was like,
Oh, yeah. It was the
and it
thing.
still
Yeah, it
is.
still is.
But it looked like StarCraft 2 was the point at which it went global, and it actually became like a thing across the
Yeah.
world. And it kind of looked like for a little while it might be, but now it isn't. And you know, a lot of like Slasher, who is the esports dude for GameSpot, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, like it seems like the whole StarCraft 2 community thing has really kind of died down a bit.
Yeah.
And even to the fact that Total Biscuit used to do loads of StarCraft stuff, and now he's actually said he's made a conscious effort saying, "I'm going to learn Dota. I'm going to play Dota because it's the big thing."
Yeah.
It basically looks like
that-
League of Legends has sort of already achieved what StarCraft aimed to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's obviously two different parts of the esport kind of world, but they're going after the same idea. But it does seem to be, since Heart of the Swarm, that's everyone was expecting that to be the kind of regeneration, because it was starting to slow down with Wings of Liberty. Heart of the Swarm was supposed to get everyone back excited, and it did for a little while, and then that just seems to have died out.
But those games, I mean, those games are expensive. Like, I mean, like there's.
Oh, yeah.
You look at a game like, I mean, even Diablo 3. Like, it's such a shame they spaffed it up with the online auction house. But like, if you play that game on a PC, it looks incredible.
Yeah, they
And
don't
it's
do things half-assed.
It's optimized to run so well on like older PCs as well. Like, it will still look good and run smoothly on old PCs. And it's like, whoa! Like,
Yeah.
they spent a lot of money making this work.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it just feels weird. Like the auction house was a weird misstep. The fact that they're kind of splitting off to do all these different types of games now.
It's unlike them, isn't it? They usually stick to one
It
project and
seems
push it hard.
unusual.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And actually something this morning that Chris pointed out about Hearthstone has me a bit worried about it, in the fact that there's basically, you can play just versus head-to-head, but it seems like the real meat of the pie, the fun mode, is arena mode, right?
Yeah, that's what I tend to play, and that's the one I mentioned briefly. you don't use one of your decks. It gives you a choice of cards, and you build a deck depending on these random cards that it presents to you, and then you have to try and do as well as you can with this new deck that you've formed.
And that, to me, in a deck building game, because for those of you who aren't familiar, basically, one of the reasons I'm still not sure about Hearthstone is it feels a bit too reliant on just building decks, which is almost a sort of auteur thing of being able to... It's a bit tricky. I mean, I personally like games where... one of the reasons I like Card Hunter is because having a good deck matters, but if you get some bad cards, then there are other... You've got like the tactical layer, which allows you to have more options. So you can get yourself out of a bad situation by being clever. Whereas if you just get bad cards in a straight card game, you're kind of boned.
And those few turns when you haven't got much money to spend and you don't get the right cards, it can be tricky. But I don't know, building the decks and particularly having these random cards to pick from that you don't know what to expect, I really like.
Well, no, that's cool. Yeah. That's the thing is having this mode where you just get a set of cards and you've got to build the best deck you can out of it completely levels the field.
Yeah, exactly. It's balanced.
Rather than, because I mean the problem I have with it is I know that if I spent a couple of hours tweaking a perfect decks, then I'd probably play better at that game.
And the thing is, when you're playing against people with their own decks, there are cards that the legendary cards are going to be better than the ones you have unless you put a lot of time or spent some money on it, which is the whole free-to-play thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's a free-to-play game, and I appreciate that they've made it so you can buy decks of cards with money. That's cool. But the thing about the arena that seems weird is it's like... in playing the beta, you don't earn gold very quickly. Like, you have to complete quests, which take a little while to complete. So I haven't really earned that much gold. Yeah. And it seems like when the game comes out, to play the arena, you need to invest 150 gold to get into the arena. And then when you're in there, you've got the capacity to make loads of gold, right?
Not loads, but it seems, unless you're going straight after the quest, it's quicker than just playing normal matches. But yeah, so... when that 150 gold kind of gives you an entrance to the arena, and you have this deck that you kind of randomly put together, and that lasts either 3 losses or 9 victories. So if you win a lot of games, you'll earn that gold back. I'm not sure how much you get per win, but if you don't, 150 gold does take a little while to build up.
Well, that's the thing, and it kind of feels like it's weirdly kind of a bit gambly. In my mind,
I guess it is a little bit.
Of being like you spend gold, which you can buy with real money, to get into this mode in which you can earn gold back more quickly if you play well.
It is a bit like gambling.
It sounds on paper a lot like gambling.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's the beta, so it's free to go into the arena. Yeah. It's free to play that mode. But when it comes out, they've said on the forums that it's going to be 150 gold,
which is about £2, I think, $2 actually.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And Blizzard are the ones kind of pushing forwards these new ways of introducing real money into virtual economies, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, the auction house didn't work, but it was an interesting idea.
Well, that's the thing. This is why I'm worried about Blizzard, right? Is because Blizzard made so much money for such a long time off the monthly subscription model of World of Warcraft. And now anyone with any sense realizes that is dead for games, really. Like, it's not
dying,
happening. We're dying fast.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are games coming out that are doing it, but I mean, like...
Too many of them are copying WoW. That definitely, the kind of WoW approach to it is obviously on the decline.
It's not sustainable unless you've got, like, quite low overheads, basically. And the problem with Blizzard is they clearly haven't got low overheads because they've been going at this for a long time. So now it seems like they're desperately trying to work out a way that they can get back their glory days. And I don't know. I'm just not sure about the way they're doing it. I'll be really interested to see what their MOBA's like, because... it's weird. I mean, I play so much Dota 2. I'm now up to a 750-hour mark.
Good grief.
Which actually puts it at, I think it is now the game I've played the most.
Surely, yeah.
The game before that was Phantasy Star Online, which I played about 600 hours across 3 versions. So yeah, it's the most played game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I'm still not even remotely bored of it. I feel like I'm only just starting to learn it.
It's amazing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people are now getting to that stage where, because LoL and Dota are 2 giants, people are starting to say, the MOBA market is just it's almost full. Like that, those are 2 behemoths to try and go against. Is it worth it? And for a lot of people, as we've played a few people trying to get into the MOBA market recently. What was the Batman variation called?
Yeah, the Marvel one was really... it's called Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis is pretty terrible from what I've heard. I haven't actually had a chance to play it, and from what I've heard, I've got no time for it. It sounds like gash.
Yeah, it's tricky for people of that kind of level to come in and go up against those big guys. But Blizzard, are a huge company. And
they got the
let's not
experience,
forget,
the knowledge, and the cash.
the MOBA genre started in one of their games. It wasn't their product, but it started from the Warcraft universe.
And Blizzard versus Valve, that's a fight that I like to see.
Big guns going at it.
Tonight.
To the death. Yeah, exactly.
Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. I'm up for it.
Yeah, you know what? Even if it turns out to be a flop, it's probably not a bad thing for the whole genre anyway, because
it won't be a flop.
The more kind of competition in that space, the better. Because you don't want League of Legends and Dota to get too comfortable.
You know what? If anything, what will happen is exactly what's happened with Hearthstone. I've got to say, right? I don't like to slag off like industry peers, but honestly, the reaction to Hearthstone has made me just go, oh, for fuck's sake, guys, come on, wake up. In the fact that every bloody website in the world has suddenly gone, oh, look, collectible card games. These are really cool, aren't they? And just started talking about Hearthstone. I know, it's always the way. But this the difficult thing is it's very difficult to kind of try and it is difficult to try and balance talking about big games because they're big and talking about interesting games because they're interesting. But what I always find a bit kind of like is when it's like you're just talking about games because they're made by important companies. And giving them like a lot of coverage because of that.
It does suck.
And it's the thing is, I think Hearthstone is pretty good. It's incredibly well polished, and it has that wonderful Blizzard sheen of every time you do anything good, it makes you feel nice. It's, that not haptic feedback, but
I don't know. I know the point you're going to make. It's we've been playing other card games like Scrolls, like Card Hunter, and
I don't think Scrolls is. I think it's kind of maybe on par with Scrolls, maybe better than Scrolls.
I prefer it to Scrolls just because. For me, I love the Warcraft universe, and all of those, every single card in Hearthstone, I know where it's come from, and I kind of go, oh, that's cool because it works like that because of how it works.
I get that,
and that's just a setting thing for me. With Scrolls, they're all new ideas, and that's great in one way.
I'd say Scrolls isn't. I wouldn't say Scrolls is better than Hearthstone, but I would say that Card Hunter is better. But it's more that I just say that this is not a new thing. It's just so not a new thing.
No,
Magic the Gathering has been around for so long,
and Magic the Gathering video games have been around for so long as well.
But it's just always a bit weird and depressing when it's like suddenly it's almost like kind of the industry wakes up and just goes, "Oh, this is a genre."
Always the way. That's the thing. What happened with Dota?
It did happen with Dota,
exactly.
but I reckon when the Blizzard thing happens, it's
be even bigger because Blizzard. Yep. That's the world, and it sucks.
It's just a bit rubbish.
Yeah,
it is like, come on, chaps, wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
But as I say, like actually, I honestly think the Card Hunter is a better game. So
there you go.
Kapow. Any other business, chaps, or is it on time for news and questions?
I'll be asking questions.
There's no Dave to fire his cannon.
There's
of
no
news.
Nothing's happening. Sims got delayed till 2014.
Titanfall got a release date.
Titanfall got a £250 collector's edition.
Yeah. Okay, what's included in that? Because I only glanced at
a real life Titan.
I saw a glowing robot. I saw a glowing statue. That's all I really know.
Not worth it. I tell you, look, A is not worth £250. B is $250 in the States, which means we're getting ripped off twice.
That tat though, it's always like you spend a fortune on it, and it's always quite. I've never done it, but I've always seen them, and they're always not quite as nice as you think they should be.
I do it with some games.
You can always
that's a lot of money.
Tell it's been dry brushed really badly and quickly by some Chinese child.
Wow. Okay.
There you go.
It's not me being racist. It's me having a problem with the way that the production of these things occurs. Carry on.
Cool. Well, we haven't really got a whole lot of news.
Questions then.
Shall we move on to questions?
Yeah, question me, baby.
Okay. Oh, this actually relates to what we were talking about earlier. This is from the forum user Jen Penn, who asks, it feels games are heavily influenced by films, but is that a good thing? Cinema is a passive medium for the viewer, and obviously video games are more of an interactive experience. Is it a good thing that that people are striving to compare games with movies? Is it a good thing that developers are trying to make games more like movies? Okay, best example recently, Beyond.
Well, that's where I think it goes wrong. And I've said this before, I liked Heavy Rain. So that'd be a good example of it. Because it was like you were involved and you were interacting with a really well-told detective story, which was awesome. Whereas Beyond, I felt like I was involved. I felt like I was watching a film and I happened to, I would push the play button every now and then. Or the skip button, to get to the next point. That's bad. I think it depends on the game you're trying to make. Because L.A. Noire was obviously very inspired by films, and I loved L.A. Noire. I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed it immensely.
You've just got... I think the problem I have...
Are you sure about that?
No, I did, yeah.
I liked it.
I
really liked it.
I thought L.A. Noire was fucking irritating.
Oh my gosh, I loved L.A. Noire.
I loved the music. The music was fucking brilliant.
It was amazing. No, I loved L.A. Noire.
I loved the ambience. I fucking hated the game.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I agree that it definitely got repetitive. You always ended up chasing someone through a street, but I the actual investigation stuff, I was a big fan of that.
No, I thought it was shit.
And I like the what was it? What was
great counterpoint.
Was it not question?
It's like Newsnight. This.
What was the?
Yeah, the questioning. So when
yeah, but what was the? It wasn't. It was that you pushed triangle. And it was.
lie.
What was the middle one? Like suspect or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't suspect, it was just like be a massive dick.
Well, that was it.
That's the best part of the game.
Yeah.
It's always so over the top.
Shouting at her.
I'll give you my
Jeez.
TLDR like thing about right. But my problem with Annual, right, is it's trying to be too much, right? If they'd taken out the open world and taken out the driving and taken out the shooting and just made it a really good detective game,
guess there's an
I
argument
think it would have
there.
been awesome.
Maybe.
But it felt like Rockstar probably said, look, it needs to be all these things. The open world just felt pointless.
I did love driving around.
It was nice,
though.
but that was it. There was nothing to do in it. It was just like a movie
You're right.
set.
No, yeah, no, true.
And it felt like they spent a lot of time doing that. And then you still had like shooting that was pretty ropey. You had like running around that was pretty ropey. And then you had the actual, I think the detective stuff was balls.
I still
because
loved it.
I remember there was a
can't pretend
bit.
Otherwise.
I was around my mate Steve Hoggerty's house and he was playing it and he was just going mental. And I was like, yeah, you're right, this game is bollocks. And the fact that literally he's like, look at this. And he goes into this guy's room and he opens up this cupboard and it's like Phelps sees that there's boxes and boxes of morphine. Like boxes full of morphine.
Yeah.
That are all clearly illegal. And he's talking to him and Phelps calls him up on the fact that he's smuggling morphine and there is no option to just go, it's bloody there. It's like you can see it. You can see it behind him and there's no option to just go, it's fucking there.
Video games.
And he kept pressing the accuse and he accuses him he's like, oh, you were here at this point. It's like, what are you saying?
It was definitely flawed, but I just love that it was pushing a game in that direction because we haven't got that many great detective games.
It wasn't even as good as Phoenix Wright. That's my problem with it. Phoenix Wright is a better detective game.
I can't comment on that, but I did love it anymore. I did think it was fantastic.
I think if they'd actually like done the actual like made it like Phoenix Wright in terms of if you actually had like
Objection.
if you had an idea of what you were going to say. I mean, Phoenix Wright was still a lot of trial and error, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. When it's better than Phoenix Wright, its logic and its stuff is often mental. It's
Yeah.
not perfect by any means, but. Come on, like it was this thing of like you'd be kind of like you want to like talk to an old lady and you'd be like and you press the button to go I think she's suspicious and you'd be like you've been sticking candlesticks up your arse.
I advise everyone to go to watch the Funny or Die LA Noire sketch.
Oh, that is
'cause
amazing.
It is absolutely hilarious. But going back to the question,
Yeah.
I think that it's good as long as it's done right, which is a stupid thing to say.
Yeah,
but some developers are good at it, some developers are not good at it at all. So
I
you
think
need to pick and choose.
It's very important that you remember what games can do better than other medium. Take inspiration from it. I think I was playing Device 6 which is an iOS game over the weekend, and that game's obviously based on the way a story is presented when you're reading a book. Like it's very much done by the text, but it doesn't forget that you're playing a game, and it presents the text as kind of a map. So if you choose one option, you'll be walking down a corridor and there'll be two ways to go, and both ways are presented as sentences, and so you choose each one.
That's cool.
To continue as a sentence, and it obviously presents a very well thought out story to you in a way that you would read in a story, but it remembers exactly why you're playing it on an iPhone or an iPad in the first place.
I'll tell you an interesting point, actually. I just remembered. I was reading an article the other day about The Wolf Among Us, which I really enjoyed. But it made a really good point. And actually, it's something I hadn't really thought about, was the fact that it was, all the reviews have described The Wolf Among Us as being like noir and classic.
Yeah.
But he said, well, what does that actually mean? Like when we say, oh, it's noir. And it's because it's not black and white. It's not lit exactly like a noir. It's kind of quite a neon, fresh look. But really what noir means is this kind of like brooding, smoking males
Humphrey
violence.
Bogart.
And it's all like, he kind of made the point of saying all of the women are really attractive women who just get beaten up or murdered.
Femme fatales.
And, that's the thing is, it's actually kind of like, I think an interesting point about trying to make games like movies is to do that. You've got to riff off of tropes, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to riff off of stuff that's already classic.
Yeah,
and the
because
problem
people
is,
can what's the word? Engage with that.
yeah, but the problem is a lot of this classic stuff is actually like quite outdated. So I think one of the major problems, which I hadn't really thought about going forward, I don't think it's like been a major issue until quite recently. The world's changing, It's one of those things where if you continue to riff off of film styles of narrative that were invented like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Then actually,
There'll be a disconnect somewhere.
being a bit backwards with the times and stuff. I mean, it's not something I'm like massively like, But
no,
at the
it's
same
always a
time,
shift.
it's like, it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point.
Watch The Maltese Falcon if you like noir films.
Oh,
There
Maltese
you go.
Falcon, it's a great movie.
Great
yeah.
movie.
Another question from the forums from Adeste Fidelis. that
right.
forum user.
Just saw his name.
Sorry. With both next-gen consoles featuring mainly off-the-shelf PC components, do you think that prices will come down much faster than the previous gen
No,
machines?
definitely not.
I don't.
No way.
I don't
No
see
way.
why the advantage.
They're both making losses on those bad boys, so they'll keep them up. The only person that doesn't make a loss usually is Nintendo. They did with the Wii U for a bit. But yeah, no way. They will stay high until they can start making profits, or until sales bomb. But I think they'll both do all right, to be honest.
It's the same system as ever. There's no dribs and drabs or changes. It's consistent, and then at some point they will make a slim version, which will be.
Yeah.
I've noticed now I'm not falling for the slim stuff ever again.
I've never bought a slim console
Because
ever.
every time you buy a slim console, you get bought in by how cool it looks, and they're always like less well made. Like
I think so.
my slim Xbox 360 has caused me so much grief when my original one was just fine, like absolutely fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Just the components and the way they're assembled, it's just poor.
And that isn't like an idea that suddenly struck them like, oh my god, we can fit it in a smaller box.
No,
the slim version's already planned.
Yeah, exactly.
They're ready. They go, all right, now we can use cheaper components. We can manufacture them cheaper.
Exactly.
We'll put it in a
Make
shinier
money
box.
off of it and charge less. Exactly.
Gosh.
Okay, moving over to the Twitterers, we've got one from Jonathan Barlow who asks, what game are you most looking forward to coming out within the next 6 months, which is April
Mario
next year?
Kart 8, I've decided.
Mario Kart 8?
Yeah, how bad is that? But I've gone with Mario Kart 8.
This kind of fits back into what we were talking about at the beginning. I struggled with this one a little bit because I want to pick a next-gen game that's going to excite me about the next generation of the consoles in particular. And I don't know, Titanfall's pretty much the one I go to just because a lot of people are very excited about it.
Yeah.
It's a game that's going to take advantage of...
Watch Dogs is in that period now as well.
Oh,
Like
of course
months.
it is, yeah. But I don't know,
Yeah. I don't know, Watch Dogs, man.
I've never been excited about Watch Dogs, but a lot of people are.
I know.
I was
but
excited about it with the first trailer.
That's the thing. I was
32
excited about it by the
trailers
time,
later,
but then
yeah.
I don't think they've ever done it.
Yeah,
We
Mario
talked
Kart,
about it.
yeah, Mario Kart 8 is definitely mine because I feel like Mario Kart Wii wasn't a proper Mario game. It took a lot of stuff out of it, and it wasn't.
I love that when we were...
Actually, I tell you what, I'm actually partly excited by Mario Kart 8 because if we can, as soon as Mario Kart 8 comes out, hopefully we can just stop playing fucking FIFA in the office at lunchtimes.
And I can start. I'm the only game I'm good at in the world. And a lot of people see me on YouTube and they go, "Simon, you're so shit at games." Yes, I am, but I'm really fucking good at Mario Kart. So I'll start playing people and beating them. It'll be amazing.
So with incredible conviction, I believe you. I'm pretty good at it myself.
I really am. Mario Kart DS and 3DS to a lesson. I'm so good at. I'm so proud of myself. The only game I'm good at in the world. That's it.
I think I'm going to have to have a bit of a training montage. I remember when we were at E3 and you played it for the first time and we were at the Nintendo thing together. And I was like, so what do you think about that? It's like, what? Did you not see that? You can go upside down, Chris.
Exactly.
Upside down.
That's all I need.
I was like, oh,
That's the kind of excitement we need, though.
Exactly.
Like, it's very easy for people
Upside
just to
down
go.
tracks.
Oh, it's just the same thing again. Come on, you can go upside down. It's got gliders.
Exactly.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
No, that
about
looks
Mario
fun.
Kart 8.
My game's Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls
Of course, yeah, exciting. Same week as Watch Dogs now. Same week.
Yes.
I don't think either will affect. I think they both have big fan bases now.
No, Dark Souls 2 is just looking amazing.
Dark Souls
I'm
2
still
is-
miffed about the way the game's being handled, but it doesn't matter. Just going to get it when it comes out.
Done. Beautiful.
Question from Dog Ryan 100 asks, why is Dave here?
He's not.
It's not.
No. Why is Dave here? As in with Dog Ryan 100.
Oh right, I don't know. Dave. I thought Dave was in Sweden, but
I think you might want to ring the police.
Yeah,
at this
if
stage.
Dave does show up at your house unannounced, do just call the police and
Yeah,
knock
yeah.
the door.
distract him with achievements. Throw that Avatar game
Cheese
at him, and
strings are good as well.
or cheese strings.
But
Yeah.
you'll need multiple to get him away. Really get the scent, you know.
The mistake a lot of people make, they'll think, "Oh, Dave's here. This is amusing, isn't it? How unusual."
No,
he's a dangerous man, and you need
Yeah.
to just get some kind of authority there.
I mean, he's a lot of fun on the
Impossible.
podcast, sure, but what you don't see is that he's always chained to the chair quite firmly.
Exactly.
With a
and
special
drugged.
mask.
Often foaming at the mouth as well.
He's got a special mask that allows him to talk clearly, but not bite.
Exactly.
So
Like
yeah, just
Hannibal Lecter.
I would say don't be afraid, but do be
Be
afraid.
very afraid.
We got this from Francis Reyes, who asked, "Do you think Red Dead Redemption 2 will ever come out?"
It's being made
Yes.
right now.
It's course.
I'd put all the money I own. I guess I own money. It's being made right now. It sold
Yeah.
what?
Loads.
16 million? Was it?
Loads.
Yeah, and also it's brilliant.
It's a bloody cowboy game
Yeah.
that sold more than 50
I am
million
excited
copies.
about
Like-
what they do though, because I won't spoil
Yeah, of
the
course.
game because the way it ends is quite definitive, shall we say?
I think it's one of the best
And where
game
do you set
endings
it?
of our generation.
I think it's the best game ending ever. I was thinking about this
Ooh,
the other
yeah, it's
day.
a close
It's my
one.
favourite one ever. Nothing beats it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely being made. And I'd say it'll probably come out 2015 would be my guess. I don't think they'll do it next year.
No, I
it'll be
think next year.
Do you think next year?
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it'll be 2015. What about Agent as well? There's a lot of in jokes in Agent in Grand Theft Auto. Do you know that?
Oh right, yeah.
Do you remember Agent?
Yeah,
They announced it 6 years ago now. I
PS3
think
exclusive, right?
But now then they said, "Oh no, it's not that anymore." And they said we don't know anything about it. Agent.
That's all we know.
All we know is a logo. That's all they ever released. So
The Agent, yeah.
That's all we know. We don't know anything
I
about
think there were a
it.
couple of screenshots or
was
concept
there?
shots
Okay.
really
Well, probably,
early.
yeah.
Because I remember
It's been
reading a
around
mag
for so
feature about it.
Yeah.
And mags tend to be a bit funny about writing previews about stuff.
I'd be well up for a new IP from Rockstar called Agent.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's like Mission Impossible.
I've seen a lot
shit.
of people still want Bully 2, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Which is sad because, all right, I don't like doing
Will it
this.
happen? I don't
I had a
know,
dream
maybe.
the other day, right?
About Bully 2.
No, I had a dream where I was playing GTA 5, but it was a weird dream.
You can play it now, mate. You don't have to dream.
Yeah.
No, I don't have time. That's why
I play
I
it in
dream
my
about. I
dreams.
play my dreams. This is what I've become.
dear.
I dreamt about it, but it was like GTA 5, and Trevor was there, but it was like on a smaller
Trevor's
kind
there.
of campus. It was like it was the three characters,
University,
but they were at
GTA 5,
university,
yeah.
and it was like I was going
GTA 5
down.
Origins.
I kind of stole a Harley. I stole a Harley to drive down this sort of little path which led between the two university campuses. It was sort of a cross between GTA 5 and my university, which was Canterbury, Kent. And
easy cross to make that.
Bit of FAQ.
but it was amazing because obviously it was a dream, but it wasn't that exciting. But it was more when I woke up, I was disappointed because I really remembered how much I liked the scale of Bully. And having
It was nice, wasn't it?
It was
a bit like
cozy.
Arkham Asylum almost. Like it
It
had a very
felt-
set purpose.
That's the thing, and it's like GTA 5 seems really cool. I've played it, which is only about 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
But it's just so much detail as
it's
well.
massive, yeah.
But it's fucking huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I kind of like the way in Bully
No.
you became very slowly familiar.
Yeah,
I
it-
totally agree. Totally agree.
It's a different approach.
I think we could see Bully 2, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows? What was it called here? Canis
Canem Edit. I think they got so
Bully.
fucked by that. Like, just for
Of
branding.
course you call something Bully. Goodness sake. Who cares?
I mean, it was
Well,
a game
a
in
lot
which
of people
like everybody
apparently.
thought that it was a game in which you could go and murder teachers.
Probably. That what they
Because-
thought? It makes sense. Because a manhunt probably.
It's a game
as
that
well, yeah.
teaches people to kill. Actually, it was like cheeky schoolboys getting
Yeah,
off with each other
exactly.
and
They're stupid.
firing slingshots at the bums.
Yeah, and it's called Bully because unfortunately that does happen.
It was Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, it was. It really
The
was.
game.
I think they should have rebranded to.
I bought the Dennis the Menace license. Yeah.
Make it black and white
Would
with
have
it red.
sold less.
It could be like Schindler's List, but cheerier.
Yeah.
It's not a bad marketing pitch.
I should be in the
Yeah,
meeting.
you should be. Yeah.
No one's ever described Dennis the Menace in
No.
that fashion before.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
This is the final question from David Kramus, who asks, are the team concerned that their bullying of Bratters will result in the manifestation of his Tetsuo-esque psychic powers?
I hope it will.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing it.
do you know
it's the
who
whole
Tetsuo
purpose
is?
of it. An anime character.
You knew more than me, I had to Google it.
Oh, no, I know it is. It's from Akira, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It turns into like a bloody explosion,
Yeah,
basically.
Simul-
Akira is weird. I never understood Akira.
It's all right. Stylish.
This looks amazing.
Simultaneous with the burgeoning of his power, Tetsuo's mind becomes unhinged, yada yada yada.
You're
Rampages
reading this,
through
right?
Neo Tokyo in a quest to discover the identity of Akira, destroying much of the city, triggering a civilian uprising. Yeah, that kind of stuff, really.
Well, that's it. I mean, I am against the Bratters bullying. However, this morning, he did come out with a line without any... I thought you were joking at first. You said, who's Adam Buxton? And I was just...
That's it, I've lost you now.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that we'd hired you. I just think, well... But it's fine because then it meant I actually got to...
You get to introduce it though. So
I
you're
spent
completing
literally-
the circle of life.
Pretty much from 10 in the morning to 11, I pretty much just
Educating
said,
him, yeah.
watch Adam Buxton videos,
Exactly,
which
yeah.
is a kind of work assignment, is pretty good. But it
There
is...
are worse jobs to have.
It's
Yeah.
pretty essential as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you won't explode into a psychic mess and destroy half of London.
If he does, it'd be interesting.
It'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Would be
As
a
long as you
lot.
get it on tape, get
Yeah,
it
as
on
long as we put a
YouTube.
video on it, yeah, it's
Classic
fine.
video
It's all
guy over
good.
here.
Yeah, that is actually the sort of video we might make. So
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
Look out for it, innit?
Anyway, that's probably been a strange podcast.
What was
I
that?
kind of enjoyed it.
Is that your new catchbrush?
Why-
Look out for it, innit?
It is now.
You've been
Look
playing
out
too
for
much
it, innit?
GTA, man.
They don't say in it in GTA.
I know,
It's
but I
very
noticed that
British.
you started saying that when we were playing.
Bruv, look out for it,
Well,
innit?
I was born in Luton, or Luton, as you pronounce when
Oh,
you're
God,
in
he's-
Luton.
He's changed.
So, you
He's
know.
changed.
Please come to Dunstable.
God, Dunstable's even worse.
I know it
No
is.
offense if you live in Little Dunstable, I still love Luton because obviously it's my spiritual home. No,
Oh,
it's not.
yeah.
It's my real home. What am I talking about?
There's a retro gaming event called Revival, which is next taking place in Dunstable.
Dunstable.
And I just like the idea of there being an event called Revival, the Dunstable Revival.
Well, yeah, it needs it.
It sounds like some sort of necromancy,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Oh,
And it's-
final shout out for the podcast competition.
Yes.
Which ends
Pokemon.
in, I
Gotta
think
catch
it's,
'em,
is it
it's
2
me
weeks
and
today we'll
you.
announce the winner? I think so.
Yeah, it is.
Courage you better
So
do.
go draw a Pokemon.
You
on
teach
the forum
me,
or
and I'll
something.
teach you.
Is that the lyrics? Is that the real lyrics?
Yes.
All right.
Is-
Nice.
That's
hell.
worse than okay.
No, it's not, because we've already established over
Immediately
2
shut
weeks that
down.
I've never played Pokemon.
I would have
so-
thought you might have seen the cartoon though on telly.
Honestly, my Pokemon. What's
You
the
must
word?
have
You spent
actively
your youth in
avoided
the
it.
gym.
Yeah, I did.
It was
I literally-
everywhere.
Yeah, I know it was everywhere, but I literally. It's like Harry Potter. I somehow managed to just phase it out entirely.
Wow.
I don't know how I
But
did.
Pokemania was hard. I mean, as a gamer, it was much harder to
I know.
avoid.
Yeah.
I know. I don't
You
know
did
how I
well.
did it. I don't
You
know
did
how I
well.
did it. I've never even tried. Like, it's just incredible, isn't
But
it?
yeah, do enter the competition. Basically, the competition is you've got to devolve a Pokemon. So just get a picture of a Pokemon and then, or draw a picture of Pokemon in MS Paint and then draw what the Pokemon looks like if it devolves.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just an excuse for a forum thread full of really bad MS Paint drawings.
Yeah, you can
Which is
literally
always
draw
good.
whatever you want because Pokemon.
Yeah, and also then we'll do a Tony Hart style gallery where we'll just
And it'll
make
be amazing,
awful comments about it and say that you're all 6 years old.
Yeah.
So if you want to be in that at the very least, if you win
Enter.
it, you'll win a bloody video game.
Yeah.
So good on you. But even if you don't win it, you'll get mild internet fame for like 5 seconds.
Exactly. And who doesn't want that?
And also, it's just bloody funny. So come
Yeah.
along and have a play.
yeah.
Anyway, thanks so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the 3-way. If you have, let
I
us know in
enjoyed
the
it.
comments.
No different, little
I
weird.
personally think a podcast with 3 people work better.
There we
But
go.
anyway, I just think, logistics. But
Semantics.
let the internet be a judge.
Yeah.
Bye.
Drop.